everyone, Miss Carrie here from Miss Carrie's Creations. I have joined the creative design team for the August collab. This week we have some great projects that you can make with a travel theme. Today I'm going to be showing you how to add foiled images to your scrapbook pages as I share a Disney themed layout with you. Many of our design team members have already shared their projects this week. If you missed any of those creations, I have the playlist linked on the screen at the end of my video and in the description below. I was inspired by all of the amazing architecture and details in the Moroccan pavilion at Epcot. So I've selected a few foil plates that I'm considering using on this page. I've also gathered some pattern papers, ephemera, stencils, and a few Disney-related items. This is a mix and match of elements, but I like to choose items from a variety of collections that match the theme of my photos. Most of these are simple stories elements with a few bits of ephemera from Not Just for Boys Kit Club, Spellbinders, and Elle's Studio. I will put links to all of the items that I'm using in the description below. I'm starting out with this envelope patterned background, and I'm cutting it so that the postage stamp print is in the bottom right corner. I have 3 photos which I've printed on my Epson, and they are sized a bit smaller than usual because this is an 8.5 by 11 album. I want a vertical design on this space, so I'm going to lay out a few of the papers and the photos, mark where they're going to sit, and then I'm going to start adding my stenciling. One thing that struck me the most at the Moroccan pavilion was all of the texture in the tile and in the ironwork and in the architecture. I wanted to bring some of that texture to this page, so I'm going to be using a grit texture paste in a grave color. This is a Halloween product, but it's an awesome color for any time of the year. And I love how it has a matte color that looks like stone. I'm not using mixed media paper, so I also like that this is a drier product that won't cause my paper to warp. While the texture paste dries, I'm going to show you how to create a few foiled elements for your page. I'm using a hot foil plate with some hot foil dies to create some embellishments for this page. This hot foil plate is a new tool in my craft room, and I'm still learning the best way to use it. I have some smooth cardstock, and I'm going to attach my dies to the cardstock using mint tape, and I'm going to create a little hinge. This is not my original idea. There are quite a few creators out there that do this. I have cut down some foil and I'm placing it between the die and the paper with the colorful side facing the die. I'm going to place this onto the preheated hot plate with the die side down, and then I'll set the timer. Once this is finished heating, I'm going to move this over to my die cutting machine. Now, there are quite a few hot foil plates out there, and each one works differently. Some are designed for specific die cutting machines, so make sure that you refer to the product guide or the product video when you first get your hot foil machine. So here is the first little flower image that I have ready to go. I love the way this looks. I'm going to repeat this process and create a few more florals and leaves, and then I'll show you how they're going to go onto the page. So I've finished foiling all of the floral and leaf images, and I've cut them out with the matching dies. I've also added a pocket to the back of this pattern paper strip for my journal card, and I've added a little bit of stitching. Before I add the elements to the page, I want to stamp the title. I'm using a title builder stamp set for this page. I have already stamped the word perfect onto some cardstock and cut it out with a die. I want to stamp the phrase "with you" directly onto my background. I'm going to bring in a stamping platform for this, just in case I don't get good coverage the first round. The stamping platform will allow me to re-stamp the sentiment if I need to. Before I lay all of the pieces in place, I'm going to use the same ink that I used to stamp the sentiments around the edges of the photos. This is going to distress them a little bit and help them to stand out a bit more on that patterned background. With all the vertical elements in place, I need a few horizontal pieces. I chose this pattern paper with florals to bring in some of the blue and yellow hues that you see in the tile and lantern in the photos. To bring in even more yellow, I've grabbed this checked washi tape. I'm going to place this over some soft white cardstock and then I'll trim it to size. I'm going to be layering this over that pattern floral. So I'm going to ink the edges a little bit and then I'll adhere it in place. Now I've laid everything down on my page and I'm feeling like I need something behind these florals. So I'm going to add a stenciled mandala, which is going to be a little bit difficult to do because everything here is almost tacked down. I did not adhere down the right side of that pattern paper because I knew I was going to tuck some florals underneath. So I am going to be able to slide my stencil under there. I'm just going to mask everything off and then I'll be using a distress crayon to add some color. I'm just going to scribble a little bit of the pigment onto my glass board, add a little bit of water, and then I'll fill in the stencil with a flat paintbrush. I don't want too much color or too much water because I'm not using a mixed media paper and I don't want this to curl up. If I use too much water, there's also a chance that it could seep under the stencil, and I would rather have a clearer image for this piece. Now, after I finished that mandala, I decided that I wanted another one up on the left side of the page. Now, this one is going to be even more difficult to do because everything over here is tacked down. But then I realized it's okay if it looks a little bit messy. It's just going to peek out behind a couple of those foiled flowers, so it's okay if it's not completely perfect. After all of the stenciling had dried, I adhered my photos onto the page with a little bit of foam tape. And then I started tucking the flowers and leaves in place. Now I debated adding color to the flowers, but I do like them white. I feel like if I had added color to the petals, it would have taken away from the photos, which is really what I want to focus on. The foil I selected was a pewter foil, and it goes well with the other elements on this page. It's not too bold, and it brings out the colors in the tiles and in the ironwork of the lanterns. I don't know if you're aware of this, but when Epcot was being built, the ruler of Morocco sent workers to design the pavilion at Epcot so that it best represented his country. The tile work and architecture there was just beautiful, as were the intricate details of the wood carvings and lanterns. I doubt that I will ever get to travel to Morocco, so this was an amazing representation of the art I might have been able to experience. Now I'm going to finish up that title that I stamped. I'm attaching the word perfect to the page with foam tape, and then I'm going to tuck this little phrase above it. This sticker is a little bit thin, almost like washi tape, so it was a little tricky to get in place, but using tweezers made it much easier. I have picked a few more phrases for my page from my theme park collection. One says worth the wait, and the other says super special moment. The second phrase was a little too long for the space, so I just cut off the word super and it fit there perfectly. For the journaling, I have this longer card, which I will be typing my story onto. I'm going to add a tab to the top, and then I'm going to slide it right into the pocket I created. I'm going to add another phrase sticker on the tab so that people know that this is where the story is hidden. Around the page, I'm going to add a few little butterflies. These came from the sticker book that had that sticker I used on the title. They are a little bit thinner, almost like washi tape. So I ended up placing those butterflies on some cardstock, and then I hand cut them out so that they would be a little bit sturdier for the page. At the top right corner of the page, I am adding a little sticker that I'm going to fold over the edge. Originally, I had added some of that yellow check washi to this, but I ended up removing it because I felt like it was way too much in that corner. I'm going to add a few more elements to the page, and then I'll show you the finished piece. This page documents a memory in the Moroccan Pavilion at Epcot. Now, it's not a Disney-ish layout because I wanted it to reflect the location. I did add some stickers from my theme park collection, and these are stickers that I'm using in the rest of my album because I wanted all the pages to have a cohesive feel. Just because a page is of a memory in a theme park doesn't necessarily mean that you need to use theme park elements. My memories of this pavilion in Epcot were about the architecture and the gardens and the texture on the tiles. I wanted to bring that to the page, and I did that with foiled elements, texture paste, and a little bit of stenciling. Thank you for joining me as I created this travel-themed layout. I will be placing all of these photos on my blog today so that you can pin them to your inspiration boards and refer to them when you start making your travel-themed projects. Tomorrow, Jema and Katie will be posting their videos for you to enjoy. The rest of the team videos can be viewed by clicking on that playlist above. Don't forget to subscribe to each of our channels so that you can enjoy more of our creations. I hope that you have a wonderful week, and I can't wait to see what you create.